Okay. So, have you ever like gotten nervous ordering food? Especially
Oh.
if like you're somewhere new.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone's been there.
Yeah. Well, for today's deep dive, we have this awesome guide all about how to order food like a pro. And even though, like I said, everyone gets nervous sometimes, this guide is all about, feeling confident when you order food in English.
Yeah, and I think what's so cool about this guide is it emphasizes that ordering food is about more than just, getting something to eat. It's like this whole social thing. And it can actually be a really fun and enjoyable part of the whole dining experience.
Exactly. And this guide starts off by talking about like how important it is to phrase your order the right way. So, instead of just like blurting out, "Give me a burger," you can use more polite phrases to, make the whole thing a little smoother.
Right. It's all about creating a more like positive and respectful vibe with the person who's taking your order. Like they say, "Could I have?" or "I'd like."
I've noticed that. You walk into a place and you're like, "Could I have a cappuccino, please?" And they're like, "Of course."
It just sets a much nicer tone.
Right.
And speaking of being like clear and specific, that's another big thing this guide emphasizes.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of just saying, "I'll have a salad," you really want to paint a picture with your words.
Yeah. And I think this is where I've messed up before because, like, you think salad is pretty straightforward, but there are so many different kinds.
Absolutely. So like instead of just salad, you can be like, "Could I get the Caesar salad with dressing on the side?"
Yeah. And, like, what if you want, a cheeseburger but no pickles? You got to be specific.
Exactly. The more specific you are, the less likely it is that there'll be like any mistakes or mix-ups.
Okay, but what if you're looking at the menu and you have absolutely no idea what to get?
Well, this guide has a really interesting tip for that, and it's something that a lot of people don't think about, asking for recommendations.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it can feel a little awkward at first, but honestly, it's a game changer.
So you just walk up and say, like, "Hey, what's good here?"
Well, maybe phrase it a little more politely, like, "What would you recommend?"
Okay.
Or "What's a popular dish?" But yeah, the idea is to tap into the server's knowledge. They know the menu inside and out.
Right. And they probably have some favorites or they know what's really good that day.
Exactly. And it shows that you're open to trying new things, which is always a good thing.
Okay, so we've placed our order. We've been super clear and specific, maybe even asked for a recommendation. What's next? I feel like I tend to just zone out while waiting for my food.
Well, believe it or not, this guide actually stresses the importance of active listening even after you've ordered.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so, don't just tune out while the server is talking. They might mention, like, how the dish is prepared or key ingredients, or even suggest a wine pairing.
Ah, so it's about staying engaged in the whole process.
Exactly. And if something isn't clear or you want to double check something, don't be afraid to ask.
That makes sense. You don't want to end up with something you didn't expect.
Right, and it shows that you're paying attention and you value their input.
Okay, so this is really making me think about ordering food in a whole new way. It's like there's a
Mhm.
strategy to it.
There really is. It's about communication, being present, and creating a positive experience for yourself and for everyone involved.
Okay, I'm loving this. I feel like I'm already becoming a more confident orderer.
Me too. And there's even more to cover. This
Mhm.
guide goes into a lot more detail about how to handle different situations and cultural nuances.
Ooh, that sounds fascinating. I'm ready to dive in.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we're back and like ready for more ordering food tips. One thing I always find a little intimidating is when I get a menu and like I don't recognize half the stuff on it.
Oh, yeah, totally. I think everyone's been there.
Yeah.
Like you're in a new restaurant or maybe trying a different type of cuisine, and it's just like a wall of words you've never seen before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you feel kind of dumb asking, "Oh, what is this?"
Well, this guide actually encourages us to embrace that feeling of, "I don't know," and just ask questions. Yeah, like the server is there to help you. They know the menu inside and out, so don't be shy about asking them to like explain something or, tell you what's in a dish.
Okay, that makes sense. It's better to ask than to end up with something you totally hate.
Exactly. And they also suggest paying attention to the descriptions on the menu. Even if the name of the dish is totally foreign to you, the description might give you clues about what it's like.
Oh, yeah, like sometimes they'll say this dish is similar to.
Exactly. Or they'll list the main ingredients so you can kind of get a sense of whether it's something you'd enjoy. And of course, you can always, fall back on asking for a recommendation.
Right, like what's your favorite thing on the menu?
Exactly. Okay, so let's say you figured out what you want to order, but maybe you have a special request or need to make a modification. This is another area where people can get a little hesitant.
Oh, I know I do. Like what if they think I'm being picky?
Well, the guide says that most restaurants are actually totally cool with special requests, especially if it's due to allergies or dietary restrictions.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, the key is to be polite and specific. So instead of just saying, hold the onions, you might say something like, I'm allergic to onions, so could you please make sure there are none on my burger?
That makes sense. And if it's something like, wanting your steak cooked a certain way, you can just say, could I please have this medium rare?
Exactly. It's all about clear communication. Now, this guide also talks about what to do if, like, something goes wrong with your order. Maybe the food isn't cooked right or they bring you the wrong thing.
Oh man, I hate when that happens.
It could be awkward. But they say the most important thing is to stay calm and be assertive.
So not like yell at the server or anything.
No, definitely not. You want to be polite but firm. You can just say something like, excuse me, but I think there's been a mistake with my order.
Okay, that seems reasonable.
And most of the time, they'll be happy to fix it. Restaurants want their customers to be happy.
Yeah, of course.
And it's also important to pick your battles. Like if it's something small, maybe it's not worth making a fuss. But if it's something that really affects your meal, then definitely speak up.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess it's all about being respectful, but also advocating for yourself.
Exactly. And, even in those moments when you're feeling frustrated, just remember to be polite and the situation will usually get resolved much more smoothly.
Okay, I'm really liking all this advice. It's making me feel like I can handle any situation that comes up when I'm ordering food.
Me too. And what's cool is that a lot of these tips can be applied to other situations in life too, not just ordering food.
Oh, yeah, like being clear and communicating your needs.
Exactly. It's all about those essential communication skills. All right, so this guide has one more section that I think is really interesting. It's about some of the cultural differences you might encounter when dining in different parts of the world.
Ooh, that sounds fascinating. I'm definitely ready to learn more about that. What kind of things do they talk about?
Let's dive into it and find out.
All right, so we're wrapping up our deep dive into, how to order food like a pro. And in this last section of the guide, they get into like some of the cultural differences you might come across, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of like, how we've been talking about all these tips for communicating clearly and being polite. Well, those things are important everywhere, but there are also some like specific customs and expectations that can vary depending on where you are in the world.
Right. Because what's considered polite in one culture might be like totally different somewhere else.
Exactly. So, like, one example they give is that in some cultures, it's considered rude to refuse food or drink when it's offered to you by a host.
Oh, really?
Yeah, even if you're not really hungry or thirsty, you should, like, accept a little bit just to show respect.
Wow, that's good to know. I would probably just been like, no thanks, I'm good.
Yeah, and that could be seen as kind of offensive in some places.
No, it's like you got to be aware of those subtle differences.
Exactly. And another thing they mentioned is that in some cultures, it's totally normal to share dishes family style.
Yeah, like everyone's digging into the same plates.
Yeah, but in other cultures,
Yep.
everyone gets their own individual portions.
I've definitely been in situations where I wasn't sure, like, if I should just grab food from the middle of the table or wait for someone to pass it to me.
Yeah, it can be awkward. So it's good to like do a little research beforehand or just kind of observe what other people are doing.
Right, blend in.
Exactly. Oh, and another interesting thing they talk about is like utensils.
Utensils?
Yeah, like in some cultures you eat with chopsticks, in others it's forks and knives.
Mm.
And in some places it's totally normal to eat with your hands.
Wow, I never thought about that.
It's kind of cool though, right? Like all these different ways of approaching the same thing.
Yeah, definitely. It's like food is this universal language, but there are all these different dialects.
That's a great way to put it. And I think this guy does a really good job of like encouraging us to embrace those differences and see them as an opportunity to learn something new.
Yeah, instead of being scared of messing up, we can just be curious and open-minded.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And, at the end of the day, it's all about connection and enjoying the experience. Whether you're sharing a meal with family, friends, or even strangers, it's a chance to connect with people and learn about their culture.
I love that. It's like food is more than just fuel. It's a way to bring people together.
Absolutely.
Well, I feel like we've covered so much ground in this deep dive. I'm seriously impressed with all the tips and insights from this guide. I feel like I'm ready to go out and order anything, anywhere.
Me too. And, the best part is that a lot of these skills are transferable to other areas of life too.
Mm.
Like we were saying before, being clear, polite, and a good communicator can really take you far, no matter where you are or what you're doing.
So true. Okay, well, that wraps up our deep dive for today. Hopefully, everyone's feeling a little more confident about ordering food now. And remember, the next time you're faced with a menu, don't be afraid to ask questions, try new things, and most importantly, enjoy the experience.